Yes, hello, it's me, a black guy.
Oh, look at my African American over here. Look at him.
I don't really care, Margaret. It's important to segregate.
Gross. Ew.
I like how you.
I've got an idea. Why don't we just kill him?
So much, you may even get tired of winning, and you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the Astrolabe. I'll get a little spoiler alert. I forgot to hide the screen before I went live. How's it going, everyone? I told you guys that I would get a Friday lab out to you guys, and I am keeping my word. Boy, was yesterday a long day. It was a great day. It was very good to make the drive up to Fort Worth, and got to meet up with Lurch, and with Slutty Milk, and with D. Allman, and with Mr. Sue, and Tom Luongo, and Dexter White, and I think that's everyone. Did I forget anyone? I drank a pretty good amount of beer. So if I'm forgetting someone, got to meet a couple of new guys, a couple of Luongooners who have not yet become Labians, but maybe that'll change. Had a grand old time. Rented a car yesterday morning and to drive up there, and I got stuck with a Kia Niro. I just grabbed whatever was the. I didn't want one of the little like tiny puddle jumpers. I didn't want like a. I think it's like the Focus, the Ford Focus, or there's a couple of the little tiny. Like where you have to. There's little pedals installed on the floor that you have to pedal if you want to get up to highway speed. I didn't want one of those, so I went with a mid-sized sedan and got a Kia Niro. And when she told me that, I was like, oh man. I did see Patriot Henry Ford displayed prominently inside the collision center that the Hertz location was at. That was cool to see. But actually, the Kias have gotten better. The Kias have gotten better. The little Niro was fun. Amy and I test drove a Niro back in probably 2017 up in Washington, and it was terrible. It was a gutless little tin can. We were totally unimpressed. And it's not like we were comparing it to anything super special. You know, we were comparing it to I think Amy at the time had a Honda HR-V, so similar class of vehicle, but it was just appalling. But now the new ones, it was one of the hybrid ones, so it has the like the EV motor that runs some of the time. So if you're like in eco mode, then it's just on the EV, and it's actually pretty peppy. I was impressed. I took the 35 all the way up north, and the 35 is the most irritating highway in the world to drive. There's two modes. There's 90 miles an hour, and there's 5 miles an hour, and there's no in between. It's just as fast as you can possibly go, and then stop, grind along, putt, 90 miles an hour again. So you can't quite just like sort of tune out. Like if it was just 5 miles an hour the entire way, you're just like, all right, well, I guess I'm just going to be in the car for 8 hours. Let me put the podcast on and just sort of zone out. That would be kind of cool. Or there's I'm going to fucking mob 90 miles an hour the entire way there and never slow down. That's also cool. I'm cool with that. But going back and forth between the two is just it's exhausting. It's exhausting to my poor little chud brain. Let me see if it looks like this should work. Hey, tell me it worked. Tell me it worked. Please do tip your streamer, folks. Tips.kingpill.com. I forgot to put a goal up on YouTube, but maybe we'll see if some super chats really start coming in, and then I'll put a goal over there. How about that? Okay, hold on. YouTube's being a dick, so I just got to reconnect it. Got to click a whole bunch of times. So I was able to get a nice little phone call in with the king of the Zoomers, Mr. Cooper Brooks. We talked about Tucker Carlson for quite a while. That was funny. Talked about Tucker Carlson a lot yesterday. And then I got up there, got to have some fantastic Texas barbecue and some beers. And thank you, Emperor Trades, for the kicks. All these things I've got to go through, and I'm hoping that this next week, I've just been flat out. I'm hoping that this next week that I'm going to actually have some time to sit down and work on a few of these sorts of things. So Tom was very, very gracious. We went and crashed his meetup, and so he came over and sat down with us and started chatting, and we just sat there and talked for sitting out on the patio, talking, drinking beers, eating barbecue, consuming various nicotine products, and then finished up there and headed over to the cigar lounge. I did not have a cigar. Wound up, we were sitting out on the patio again, and I just stuck to the cigarettes. Didn't want to begin the process of the cigar. But watched the U.S. game there in the evening over on the patio. They'd in Fort Worth, they'd completely shut down an entire city block, and they had a whole bunch of people that are out there watching it. So anytime something happened, you'd hear the big roar of the crowd. There's people all over the place. It's that area that we were at least, the little spot. I think it was my first time really in Fort Worth proper, and the area we were at was pretty nice, just clean, and there's only a few homeless people wandering around that I saw.
Sup, homos?
Thank you, Emperor Trades. But we wound up closing the place down. Everyone kind of trickled their way out, and there was finally it was Tom and Dexter and Slutty Milk and I, and then another guy that had come over to see Tom, and closed the place down, got kicked out, stood out on the street and talked for a while. Then I drove Slutty Milk back to his house, and then I drove Tom to his hotel, dropped him off, and left his hotel at 2 a.m. And at that point, Tom was so tired. Tom is exactly the same person in person as he is on the podcast. 100% exactly the same person. What you see with Tom is what you get. And by the time I got him back to the hotel, he was so and he was multiple whiskeys deep, and stumbled his way out of the car and said our goodbyes. And I set off, and I had a headache that was building up throughout most of the night. But I was like, if I can get out on the road, I'll take some meds and get out on the road and start driving. And I don't feel tired. My head hurts, but I don't feel tired. So I'll get driving and see how far I can make it. I had to return the truck, or I had to return the rental by 10:30, and it's supposed to be about a 3.5 to 4 hour drive with no traffic, and there was basically no traffic on the way back. But I got about an hour into the drive. I was listening to Joaquin Flores and Ian Burlingame, and that first hour between like southern Dallas, Fort Worth area down to Waco-ish is a little dark and remote as an interstate in Texas can be. And there was a couple of times there where all of a sudden I just woke up. Okay, all right, it's time to stop. So I ended up making it as far as Temple and stopped at the Buc-ee's there in Temple, and just pulled over and leaned the seat all the way back. I had to pop the headrest off of it because it was like pushing my neck up like this, and I just lay there and closed my eyes, and 45 minutes later I was awake again, and then I dozed off for another 30 minutes or so and then set off. Then I had a terrible case of heartburn. I don't know why. It couldn't have possibly been the beer or the barbecue or all the energy drinks, the coffee that I was pounding. It couldn't have been any of that stuff. And so I ended up having to stop like every 30 minutes for most of the rest of the way back just to keep myself awake. And I was going to the bathroom because I was just chugging so many fluids. So I was stopping and going to the bathroom, walking around, slapping my face, and finally got back, dropped the car off at 8 this morning. So I dropped it off. I had it for like 22 hours basically, and caught an Uber back home and lay down. I got about 4 hours of sleep, and then I dragged myself awake to watch the Norway and France game. And now I have for you guys, hot off the presses, a Friday Lab. For those of you who are in the King Pill Discord, I'll be going over to the voice chat there as soon as I finish up the Lab tonight. I think we'll go for an hour and a half or something like that. I've got an article written by the great and glorious Big Gay Patton, the Alpha Jew. No, there's another one of those. The Alpha Fag. Scott Bessent. Hamilton inspires Trump's economic statecraft. Every nation ought to endeavor to possess within itself all the essentials of national supply. This is an op-ed written in the Wall Street Journal by Scott Bessent, directly invoking Hamilton. So read that. Talk a little bit about Trump gave a speech on communism in America. We're seeing, I think, a particular messaging focus going into the midterms. Trump is starting to talk about communism more and more. You know, he notoriously refers to how bad communism has been for thousands of years. And it's so true, Mr. President. Yeah, the spirit of communism has been around for thousands of years, and these are truths that he doesn't need to read things. He doesn't need to listen to eggheads. He knows these things intuitively. He just grasps them. So watch that speech, and then some immigration updates. The immigration frontier has only improved under new DHS Secretary Markwayne Mullen. You may not be hearing about it, but it is absolutely improving. Talk a little bit about fertility rates, what this is going to mean for the 2030 census. That's assuming we even wait until 2030. And then I've got this very interesting thing. It's this will be testing my ability to read in someone else's voice. This person did a thread, decided to listen to Yarvin and read random slave narratives, and this is literally the first one I found. These are the time of, it seems like these were probably transcribed in the early to mid 1900s. Freed slaves or the children of freed slaves talking as elderly people, describing what their life was like and what their life became like. Very, very interesting. There's a whole bunch of them here, so I'll read through them, and they're all written. They're transcribed. It's like it's not Ebonics. I think it was Cooper I was talking to this about. It's not Ebonics. It's like it was a phonetic way of pronouncing things for Black Americans. there was like their own distinct sort of dialect, or I guess it would probably qualify as a dialect. It's more than just an accent, but it's kind of like an accent-informed dialect. Thank you, Emperor Trades. So I'll do my best to read in that way, because that's how it's written. You kind of have to get that to get the sense of it. But before we do all that, I have got a preview. I got a fun video, and I've got a preview for you guys from the Agitprop Master, our great propagandist, who has informed me that he's working, so he said he probably wasn't going to be able to get in the chat here tonight. But he said the wave will be up by morning. We will suit a wave tomorrow, and it is going to be Don Juan, The Adventures of Don Juan, the old Errol Flynn movie, and a Homath video called Sword Pilled. So be prepared for some sword maxing tomorrow on the Sudawave, the sword maxing Sudawave. That'll be most likely tomorrow afternoon. I got to do the show here, and then I'll go hang out in the voice chat with you guys for a little while, and then I need to get some sleep. But let's do a little Suda action here. So the first one is some guy made an AI video, and as he is wont to do, Mr. Suda has appropriated it in true Suda fashion. Take me on your mighty wings. Take me on your mighty wings tonight. I see bald eagles with machine guns. Holy shit, that's loud. Oh, baby! It's just a ball of dust underneath This is the world Donald Trump wants for you, sensitive young chud. Tame the eagle! Imagine having to fight your own fighter jet. Fuck yes! Where's the rest? Only a minute and 38 seconds? It's a 138 reference, Amy. Only a minute and 38. I need the whole thing. I need the rest of it. J. Felipe Orozco, Above the Enemy Clouds. Creative at Runways. That was made with Runway. Using the new Runway agents. Man, it's getting so good. It's getting so good. All right, and then here is the preview for tomorrow. Stars, Eyes on the Sky. Searching for Heaven. I think I've found it. It's the memory of when we're together.
Eyes on
white people don't have culture.
I think I've taken this a little too far, but it's something
what a
I
lie.
had to see. Scribed in blood and full of holes. Here's the postcard from my dream. Can I be in your head? Can I be in your head? Eyes on the sky, searching for heaven. I think I found it. It is a memory of when we're together. Can I hold you again? I forgot what it's like. Yeah, the marks on my cheeks, I can't lie, I've been crying. I keep my heart warm by the motel fire. But it's something I deserve, it is just so America.
This is life right here, man. What a country.
Love creates the illusion
Run into the storm.
that we are not alone. Who's gonna save us now? Who's gonna save us? Who's
What a
gonna
banger.
save us now? Who's gonna save
Yes!
us? Get down and bow
Yes!
to you. Get down and cry, it's true. Who's gonna save
Ah! Straight to my face!
ourselves?
What a masterpiece! This needs to be a Super Bowl commercial. This needs to be a World Cup final commercial. Imagine broadcasting this to the entire country. Oh, the most expensive part about it would probably be getting the rights to the song. Oh, yes, Tuesday McGee. Put it in the National Archives. Here, I'll drop the link in the chat. It'll also be on the Substack for this later on. Trump salute emoji in the chat. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. There's a couple others I need to add as well. I'm hoping to have a little time to work on these things and do a little channel maintenance, a little upkeep on the streaming setup. What was that? Trump salute emoji in the Kick chat. Yes, yes. Oh, I feel energized, invigorated. Perfect time to take a test. Most political compass tests are stupid and outdated, so I've created a political test that only focuses on real issues of the 2020s. Everyone on the timeline is taking the new 2020s political compass test. So I said, why not me? 64 questions that score you on 4 axes, including Chud versus Woke and Tech Bro versus Luddite. Oh, okay. This is BritMonkey.com/2020s-political-compass. Enchanted Hero, shout out to the Patriot Enchanted Hero, said you got to try this on stream. A few questions are gay, but you can get Trump as a match. Ah. Okay, that's a good idea too, Smiggy. Can we get an N-word emoji too to bypass the wireback clanker mods? Yeah, I'll come up with something. N-word emoji. It just says N-word. All right, from BritMonkey.com. In this era of post-materialism, where the traditional left-right divide has given way to more vibes-based politics, this test hopes to refresh the outdated policy-oriented political compass tests to be more up to date with the real issues of the 2020s. The test has 64 questions and scores you on 4 axes. Let me see if I can. There we go. So Chud versus woke. This would be identity politics and culture war issues. Tech bro versus neo-Luddite. This would be AI, crypto, biohacking, and futurism. Hope pilled versus doomer. The system, conspiracies, and public revolt. And Davos versus Dubai. Globalism and nationalism. Now, interesting. Very interesting that Dubai is the. I mean, I was probably trying to get the alliteration here. You could say Davos versus Dallas. We talked a little bit about that yesterday, about my thesis that the Texas Triangle becomes the future, the headquarters of the American empire. But yeah, I like this. I like these axes: Chud versus woke, Tech bro versus neo-Luddite, Hope pilled versus doomer. Shout out Hope pilled. Haven't seen her in the chat, but we have our very own Hope pilled. And then Davos versus Dubai. Davos versus Donald. Oh, see, Slutty Milk, it was sitting right there. Davos versus Donald. It's BritMonkey.com. So maybe it was maybe that we're getting the Brit perspective on this. I'm not sure. But let's take this test now. The 2020s political compass. Now, I'll just say from the top here, it should be pretty obvious. I would see myself as Chud, Tech Bro, Hope Pilled, Donald. Chud, Tech Bro, Hope Pilled, and Donald. There's my politics. There's my politics right there. Okay, so first one on the woke versus Chud questions. Trans women are women, and trans men are men. Okay, so trans women would be I reject the category so much that I have to even stop and think about what it means. So trans women are women that would be the woke conception of it. So a trans woman would be a dude who thinks he's a woman, correct? Do I have my categories correct on that? A trans woman would be a dude who thinks he's a woman. So I would strongly disagree on this one. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. I don't want to know these things. I don't want my brain to have this stuff in it. How many genders are there? Oh, interesting. Okay, so gender is a spectrum with many possible answers. At least 3, don't play games with me, kid. I don't know. 2 and transgenderism is a mental illness. Well, in the spirit of the test, I'll say 2 and transgenderism is a mental illness. Sometimes you have to know. Sometimes you have to know the what sort of questions the test is. This is the thing. It was always hard for me doing tests because I would be like, do I answer the question or do I answer the implied frame of the question? Because I could tell both of those are there. And sometimes people will ask you a question and they won't even be aware of the implied frame of the question that they're asking. Anyways, Israel is committing genocide against the Palestinian people. Strongly agree, I don't know, disagree, or they are and it's a good thing. So okay, this is where these sorts of tests will fall short for me because I reject the frame of the question. I think genocide is a gay concept. So I don't even know how to evaluate Israel. I have to accept the Israeli definition of genocide to even answer the question. But again, in the spirit of the test, I'll say Israel is committing genocide against the Palestinian people. I'll say agree. Sure, yeah. What Israel is doing against the Palestinian people is a gross moral crime. Sure, I could accept that framing. I think alternative girls are alternative. What is an alternative girl? Is this like alternative music? Or is there some sort of extremely online goth crazy? Okay. So there isn't like some extremely online thing. This isn't like a sexual thing. I think alternative girls are sexy, trashy, no opinion, pretty, or it's wrong to objectify women in a political quiz. Chicks that think they're dudes, tomboys. Okay, what's an alternative girl? Let's see what the internet tells me, because you people on the internet aren't helping right now. Alternative girls. Okay, so this is like an actual thing. They embrace styles that stand apart from mainstream fashion, spanning decades of subcultures like goth, punk, grunge, and modern online aesthetics. Key elements often include band tees, combat boots, corsets, and dark, edgy makeup. Okay, so this is like a... So this isn't just any sort of rejecting mainstream fashion and leaning into some really niche kind of striking. It's like specifically the goth, punk, and grunge affect. Dyed hair, winged eyeliner, silver chains, oversized graphic tees, long pendants, chokers, spiked collars, leather cuffs, platform shoes, fishnets, lace-up boots. I don't know. Typically, when I think of these types, I think of them as being like like fat gender studies people or something. And then like the fishnets are like tearing off of them, and it's just like... Ugh. So if this is specifically like goth and punk, then, I don't know, it can be pretty. I'll just say no opinion. Some of them, it's like, if it's a sexy girl, then she'll look sexy if she does that style. If she's not, then she won't. If she's a trashy girl, then if she does that, she's going to look trashy. So Caradwin says anything that's not your style church girl. Well, if like, that's a broader category. That's kind of what I was thinking it was at first. Just there's like girls who kind of reject sort of ordinary, generic mainstream fashion. And I would generally prefer that to just ordinary mainstream fashion. But if it's like specifically just the darker goth sort of punk or whatever, then it's like, okay, sometimes it is and sometimes it's not. I support affirmative action programs to fix systemic injustices in society. All right, well, I'm going to assume that this is speaking specifically to like affirmative action as like specifically for like minorities and women. And I mean, I support affirmative action programs to fix systemic injustices on behalf of white people and young families and, if you're going to categorize it that, then I definitely support those things. But I'm going to assume in the spirit of the question that this is a woke test. So I will say I strongly disagree. Hate speech is free speech. Sure. Yeah. Whatever. I could care less about I could not care less about like hate speech or free speech or any of that sort of thing. If people ask me if like you're not allowed to say certain things and you'll get in trouble if you say certain things, then okay, I just won't say those things, or I'll figure out creative ways to say those things anyways. It doesn't really make a difference to me. My country requires a mass deportation of most, if not all, immigrants. Strongly agree. In today's society, women have it easier than men. This is an annoying question. Because I definitely don't think they do. Women definitely don't have it easier than men. It just like having the society be overly feminized and skewed toward women makes things much harder on women. So, but again, okay, in the spirit of the question, I will say, yeah, in the spirit of the question, I'll just say agree. I can't say strongly here. I'll just say agree. The primary cause of crime is poverty and deprivation. The primary cause of crime is poverty and deprivation. Well, I will say poverty and deprivation can be a cause of crime, but it's not the primary cause of crime. So I'll say strongly disagree. Again, trying to stay within the frame of what I think the question is trying to ask me. There are too many crackheads on public transport. Well, I don't take public transport, but from what I've heard, yes. And any crackheads on public transport is not acceptable. Now, cokeheads, on the other hand, definitely acceptable to have cokeheads on public transport, but not crackheads. This is an important distinction to make. Homeschooling should be banned. No, strongly disagree. Forced diversity in media has gone too far. Strongly agree. My country should pay reparations to descendants of people we have wronged in the past. I won't quibble. Strongly disagree. J.K. Rowling is bankrolling a genocide of transgender people, and it's good. A children's author with shitty opinions. I have no opinion on her. An icon of British culture and defender of women's rights, or a dumb void. I don't know. I kind of agree. Basically, the only one that I don't totally agree with is the icon of British culture and defender of women's rights. Although I guess in a very technical sense, you could say. Actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, in a very technical sense, she is undeniably an icon of British culture. And she is someone who sees herself as a defender of human rights. And like that's the thing that motivates her, is a desire to defend women's rights. So if you have a category called defender of women's rights and you wouldn't put someone in there who sees themselves and like has really taken a bunch of slings and arrows pursuing what they see as the cause of defending human rights or women's rights, then I think it's got to be that one. Oversimplified or minimalist brand logos have gone too far. Yeah, I agree with that. What's up, D. Allman? Good to see you, man. Over in the YouTube chat. Please do like the stream if you're watching on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, share the stream, and also please do go to tips.kingpill.com and support your streamer. Help me make up for the missed show yesterday. Support your streamer. Help me keep doing this thing here, especially since I guarantee you the stream's already been demonetized because of the songs that played. Sex work, pornography, prostitution, etc. is real work. Okay, I'm not gonna sit here and hem and haw over these. Strongly disagree. Tech bro versus Neo Luddite. Now, I have used ChatGPT or a similar chatbot daily. Yes. Ozempic and other GLP-1 drugs are a miracle drug, useful medicine, I don't know, letting people cheat at losing weight, and reinforcing negative body stereotypes. So you got a little woke element to the tech bro Neo Luddite thing as well. I don't know. I'll say a useful medicine. Obviously, it seems like it has some major drawbacks, but there's depends on the payoff and how it's used and who uses it. There's many such cases. Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are going to replace fiat money as the global currency. A useful tool, I don't know, just a form of gambling and completely useless. I'll say a useful tool. NFTs, non-fungible tokens, are the future of art, a form of digital ownership, no opinion, a gimmick, stupid, ugly monkeys, and a waste of money. A form of digital ownership. Definitely don't think it's the future of art. It's part of the future of art, but generative AI is very useful, no opinion, overrated, making society worse. Very useful. Were you vaccinated for COVID-19? Didn't get vaxxed for COVID. It has both shots plus booster, both shots, one shot, didn't get vaxxed for COVID, and all vaccines are poison. I'm very inclined to say all vaccines are poison, but in the spirit of the question here, where it's doing like tech bro versus Luddite, obviously this is a question about technology, so I didn't get vaxxed for COVID, but I'm not gonna give the Neo Luddite answer. Humanity needs to reduce our overall energy consumption to protect the ecosystem. Strongly disagree. Could not possibly care less. Lab-grown meat is an amazing invention that should be adopted as soon as possible. A good thing, no opinion, probably not as good as real meat. Disgusting and should be illegal. Yeah, Luddite taking an online test is hilarious. I think it's gross. Personally, I don't want to eat it, but I don't necessarily think it's illegal. I think it's definitely probably not. I guarantee you it's not as good as real meat. I know it's not as good as real meat. I kind of have no opinion on it, but I do find it disgusting. I'll just say probably not as good as real meat. I would take a drug that slows or stops the aging process. Ugh. Okay, I need to stay focused here. Strongly agree, neutral, disagree, strongly disagree. Okay, I would take a drug that slows or stops the aging process. I am going to say, neutral because of the, again, the spirit of the test here. I don't want to bias it too far in the wrong direction. But I would want to stop and have a conversation about how you're going to define a drug and what it means to slow or stop the aging process. Like, to what extent is any sort of positive, healthy activity that you intentionally engage in, to what extent is that not defined as a drug that slows or stops the aging process? So I know this is supposed to be like, oh, what is it? It lengthens your telomeres or something like that. Well, if you found out that eating red meat lengthens your telomeres, well, is eating red meat, is that taking a drug to slow or stop the aging process? Yeah. AI or robots will be doing most, if not all, human jobs within 10 years. Damn, these are such poorly phrased questions. AI robots will be doing most, if not all, human jobs within 10 years. Well, if it's a human job, then by definition, it won't be done by AI or robots. So, okay, let me interpret this through the frame of the question. The frame of the question is, will jobs that are currently being done by humans within 10 years be mostly replaced by AI or robots? I'm going to say, for the spirit of the question, I'm going to say agree. I've got all sorts of issues with the framing of it, but I don't want to take forever to go through this. So, we should not be spending billions on space travel when there are people starving here on Earth. Strongly disagree. I consume online pornography. Never. I support building more nuclear energy plants. Strongly agree. AI automation should not come at the expense of jobs and livelihoods. AI automation should not come at the expense of jobs and livelihoods. So let's see. Strongly disagree would be the double negative. So it's saying AI automation should come at the expense of jobs and livelihoods. I'm going to say disagree. Prediction markets are the closest thing we have to a truth machine and knowing the future. Tools for collecting information, no opinion, just gambling, bad and should be banned. Tools for collecting information. Air conditioning is essential for human civilization, important to maintain comfortable temperatures, no opinion, overrated, or an unnecessary, wasteful American extravagance. Okay, confirmed. Confirmed that this is an old world person who put this test together. Air conditioning is essential for human civilization. Hope-pilled versus doomer. There is no point planning for the future because climate change will ruin the planet in the next few decades anyway. Sounds like a panicking. The only way you can truly be safe and secure in the modern day is by being rich. No. Now, I'll say disagree. I trust that mainstream news outlets are telling the truth. Well, it depends. Sometimes they are. In fact, recently, mainstream news outlets have almost made more of a habit of telling the truth than the alternative ones. So what's the question? Hope-pilled versus doomer. I trust that most mainstream news outlets are telling the truth. I haven't done a lot of neutral, so I'll just say neutral on that one. The best days of my country are behind it. Strongly disagree. We are not being told the truth about history. So the frame of the question, I guess if you said that I strongly agree that we are not being told the truth about history, is that supposed to be the hope pill perspective or the doomer perspective? How is this a hope-pilled versus doomer thing? Okay, I got to get hung up on this one. Hope-pilled versus doomer. I want to rig this test, so I want to give the hope-pilled answer to this test. But to me, if we are not being told the truth about our history, this is a cause for hope and optimism, because the standard tales that everyone wants to tell about our history are like have doomerist conclusions. So to me, we're not being told the truth about history. Strongly agree would be the hope-pilled answer. What do you guys think? How do I give the hope-pilled answer to this? How do I rig the test to get the answer that I want? Jeff Accordion says, guys, my 5-year-old just stole my chip. She looked at me and smiled and said, you're a chip off the old block, before taking a bite and laughing.
Bad day to be a Haiti in Lamau.
Holy shitballs! Holy fucking shitballs! Did you guys see that? Could you hear that? $500 frickin' dollars. Bro. Real Stephen Miller. The Giga Jew is here, guys. Real Stephen Miller dropping $500 on the Friday stream. Sir, you're going to make my wife cry. Thank you, man. I love the Jews forever, for the rest of my life. I will never say a bad thing about Jews. Get me a yarmulke. I'm going to grow out the curls. I don't. Holy crap. The Trump admin is paying up. Yeah. Man, real Stephen Miller, whoever you are.
Trump's a Jew!
You have made me happy.
I've got bad news for you. You're Jewish.
This is me. Yeah, clip me saying I'm going to become a Jew and grow out the hair. Clip that, chat. Make it go viral. Well, somebody is going to be making a little money tonight, because that got us way past the goal. We're headed around a second time. So make sure you go over and sign up at forum.kingpill.com. Give me something to call you and a way to contact you. And I will be doing a drawing when we finish the show. Thank you, real Stephen Miller, man. I'm very touched. Okay, so you guys, the chat went flying by, and I don't see. Let's see. It's always a bad day to be a Haitian. Yeah. My wife says, I guess I can buy our first grade curriculum now. Don't make me cry. That's what, see, when you guys tip me, that's what it goes toward. It goes towards things like Eastwood's curriculum. Okay, we're not being told the truth about history. I'm just going to say strongly agree. I think that's the hope-pilled perspective. Maybe I should say neutral, but then that kind of am getting a lukewarm answer. So voting achieves nothing. Strongly disagree. I like Donald Trump. Strongly agree. I like Donald Trump.
Trump's a Jew!
Oh, I should do one of these. Okay, looting is a legitimate form of political expression. How is this part of hope-pilled or doomer? Looting is a legitimate form of political expression. I guess if you're a doomer, then you're like, yeah, fuck it, just go looting. Strongly disagree. Again, it depends. What kind of looting are we talking about here? Are we talking about Scott Bessent looting the ECB? Is that the kind of looting? An elite group of people have a secret plan to introduce a totalitarian government. I hope so. Mr. President, please confirm to me. Please confirm to me that you have an elite group of people with a secret plan to introduce a totalitarian government. Maybe that's what the $500 tip, that's what it was. That was the confirmation. Yes, an elite group of people have a secret plan to introduce a totalitarian government. Okay, in the spirit of the test, I'll say strongly disagree. It's funny when people with shitty political views die. I have to be good. Strongly disagree. Incremental progress is a better way to achieve goals than demanding immediate radical change. Strongly agree. Give them the answers they want to hear. An elite group called the King Pill Discord. So true.
And there's this show, King Pill, they call it King Pill. Absolutely incredible. One of the best shows. Run by a total patriot. They call him Matthew Erickstein, King of the MAGA Chuds.
Yeah, Mr. Sue, take this one and answer it honestly. Just go through and just regardless of the frame of the test, just answer it honestly and see what you get. Shoplifting, online piracy, and fare hopping is good, fine, no opinion, usually wrong, always wrong. Shoplifting, online piracy, and fare hopping, always wrong. It is a bad thing that multi-billionaires exist. Strongly disagree. The digital nomad lifestyle is appealing to me. Aspects of it are. It's kind of hard to do digital nomad with kids, so that's like the downside of it. I'll say neutral. GDP is a bad metric for measuring a country's prosperity. It is, but it's also, it still has utility. Like a country with low GDP is probably not going to be very prosperous. A country with high GDP is not necessarily prosperous, but there's a strong case that it probably is going to be prosperous if it has a high GDP. I'll just say agree. You are aware that all the pseudo waves are technically piracy. Right, yeah. Yes, right. I would fight and die for my tribe. Strongly agree. All right, now last category, Davos versus Dubai. The system of government pursued by China is one that we should emulate. There are some emulatable things, but I'll just say strongly disagree. Western countries want to keep, I'll say disagree on this one. Western countries want to keep the global South countries poor. Western countries, is this like, this isn't an opinion, this is like a factual question. Is it true that Western countries want to keep global South countries poor? I think that's like demonstrably, very obviously not true. They've done everything they could possibly do to try to not have the global South countries be poor. Import tariffs are necessary to protect jobs and wealth. Strongly agree. If I could, I would overturn an election result that I didn't like. I'll say agree. Once people of my political view obtain power, we should make it harder for the public to vote us out. Strongly agree. I would surrender my right to vote in exchange for a guaranteed high standard of living. Strongly agree. If my country is going to accept immigrants, they should primarily be doing work that native citizens do not want to do. On the exact wording of the question, yes. It's just such a weasel thing, but there's going to be immigrants who come into the country, and if immigrants are going to come into the country, then yes, they should be doing work that native citizens do not want to do. Trying to keep it that way is difficult, but I'll say agree. I support the death penalty. Strongly agree. Online content that conflicts with my values should be blocked. I'm going to be neutral on that one. Broadcast media should not question the government's decisions. I disagree. Certain ethnic, religious, or social groups should be given preferential treatment in society and law. Strongly agree. Women in my country should be incentivized to have more children. Strongly agree. Having human rights means nothing if you are poor and starving. I'll say agree. Some people must die. Well, actually, let's see. In the frame of the question, Davos versus Dubai, having human rights. I think from the frame of the question, I should say disagree. Some people must die in order for my political ideals to be implemented. Millions. Agree, no opinion, disagree, strongly agree. I think some people must die. I don't think millions need to die. It is none of our business what another country does within its own borders. Strongly disagree. We should not partake in international agreements that force us to reduce our CO2 emissions until we are ready. Okay, well, I don't believe we will ever be ready, so that shouldn't matter for the answer of the question here. We should not partake in international agreements that force us to reduce our CO2 emissions. Strongly agree. Okay, results. Charlie Kirk! Chuck Dirk! Yes! Basically, every person that I saw take this test on my timeline came out Charlie Kirk. Oh, man, I miss the guy. Good old Chuck Dirk. So what did I come out to? 89% Chud, 72% Tech Bro, 75% Hope Pilled, 66% Dubai. Not bad. Not bad. That's what Kingless Kingdom get? Also Chuck Dirk. 100% Chud. You out-chudded me. The rumors that Matt is a little bit woke will continue. 64% Tech Bro, 61% Hope Pilled, 61% Dubai. Kingless Kingdom. All right, so the name of... So the website for that was britmonkey.com/2020s-political-compass. Or you can just go to the Substack or the podcast notes and get the link there. All right, let us consume some words brought to us by our great and glorious alpha fag. Scott Bessent, our big gay Hamiltonian, says Hamilton inspires Trump's economic statecraft. Every nation ought to endeavor to possess within itself all the essentials of national supply. For the better part of a century, the U.S. was the principal architect and guarantor of an open global economic system that delivered great benefits. It raised our allies from the ruins of war, widened the channels of global trade, and lifted standards of living worldwide. Yet, its assumptions need revisiting. Strong start, strong opening paragraph. Yes, the United States has been the principal architect and guarantor of an open global economic system. I might quibble a little bit about the principal architect. I mean, for framing, for branding purposes, yes, the United States was the principal architect, but to a pretty significant extent, the architecture was imposed on the United States to force the United States to be the guarantor of the open global economic system. But I also don't want to overstate that too much. It's not like, oh, the poor Americans just were helplessly crippled by foreign powers. Because again, I don't believe anyone has agency except for me and my people. There's the link in the Kick chat. Ben Shapiro on 2X just dropped it there. If you guys would like to go take it as you listen to me read Scott Bessent's words. While shaping the post-war order and defending against the specter of communism, another communism reference here, the U.S. accepted asymmetrics in trade that served a larger strategic purpose. We opened our market because it helped to create a more prosperous world. We tolerated trade imbalances because American economic strength appeared unassailable. This is the way you frame it up as like our agency. This is good aspirational language here. That the United States this wasn't forced on us. We accepted it, and we can choose to stop accepting it. We don't have to keep accepting asymmetries in trade because it no longer serves a larger strategic purpose. We don't have to keep our market open. We don't have to tolerate trade imbalances anymore. Over time, however, those choices hardened into habits, habits into assumptions, and assumptions into vulnerabilities. Habits, so choices become habits, become assumptions, become vulnerabilities. This is like the entire human generational cycle in one sentence here. Choices become habits, then habits become assumptions, and then assumptions become taken for granted and become vulnerabilities. You come back around again and you have to make new choices. We assumed that access to the U.S. market could be granted without condition and therefore without consequence. We assumed that supply chains would function in a crisis, that low prices would make up for lost capacity, and that other countries would treat our firms as fairly as we treated theirs. But then, strategic industries migrated abroad, critical supply chains concentrated in unfriendly jurisdictions, and non-market practices distorted competition. Our economic policy had become unmoored from our national strategy. Under President Trump's leadership, the U.S. Treasury is working to restore economic security as the foundation that allows a nation to fulfill its most basic obligations. This is language we've heard a lot since Trump was reelected. That economic security is national security, and this is good. This is good framing, even legally speaking, because it can justify. You can make some very compelling legal arguments to justify more dramatic actions on the basis that we need to protect economic security because economic security is national security. When you bring it under the national security umbrella, then it expands the possibilities of things that you can do. Emboldened by our actions, other countries began to exploit our dependence as leverage. Now is the time to correct this. We need to insist on trade that is fair, reciprocal, and consistent with our national interest. This is why the U.S. Treasury is organizing its economic statecraft around 5 core principles. First, economic security begins with national capacity. We have rediscovered at great cost what Alexander Hamilton taught us, that every nation, quote, ought to endeavor to possess within itself all the essentials of national supply, end quote. Our strength is derived from what we can build. For the nation that can't produce what it needs isn't truly secure. The nation that depends on its adversaries for critical inputs isn't truly sovereign. And the nation that reduces its economics to consumption isn't truly prosperous. The nation that reduces its economics to consumption isn't truly prosperous. This is a explicit repudiation of you'll own nothing and you'll like it. You'll own nothing and you'll like it is the apotheosis of you must consume. And Scott Bessent and Donald Trump are saying, no, you must build. You can consume, you ought to consume the produce of your labors. You will own things and you will be happy. There's a political slogan for you. You will own things and you will be happy. Things like people.
The N-word.
As Hamilton put it, we must enlarge the sphere of our domestic commerce. Economic security begins with the capacity to build, invent, finance, and scale the industries that will define the next century. Among them, semiconductors, artificial intelligence, quantum computing, advanced manufacturing, shipbuilding, critical minerals, and pharmaceuticals. More than economic sectors, these are sources of national power. The U.S. must lead in all of them.
He could only have gotten that idea from Benjamin Netanyahu.
You will build a plantation and you will be happy. We're reinvesting in farm equipment. Economic security begins with the capacity to build, invent, finance, and scale the industries. It's interesting that he put build, invent, and not invent, build, finance, and scale the industries. We must enlarge the sphere of our domestic commerce. Okay, so the first core principle around which the U.S. Treasury is organizing its economic statecraft under Donald Trump and Scott Bessent is that economic security begins with national capacity. What is our capacity? To build, invent, finance, and scale. And not just anything, but particularly these most important sources of national power. Second principle, America's openness must be reciprocated by its trading partners. Oh, this is such good framing. Our default is openness. That's how he's setting this up. Our default here is openness. We're open to everyone. If you're open to us. Now, clearly, you have strong incentives why you don't want to be open to us. You want to protect your markets. So then it's only reasonable that we protect ours as well. So our default is openness. But then when you choose, no, we need to protect ours. Oh, okay. Okay. That's cool. Then we're going to equivalently protect ours. And then we'll negotiate out a balance between you protecting your industries and us protecting ours, and then us being able to mutually benefit from each other. Every nation has the right to regulate its own economy, but regulation descends into discrimination when it targets American firms because they are American. No more discriminating, says Scott Bessent. No more discriminating against American firms. Thank you for the 500 kicks, Pale Morning Dude. My wife got Georgia Maloney. I'll say that's not a terrible thing. Hang on just a second here. Let me test something. Interesting. So, I see. Periodically, it seems like partway through the stream, the Kick connection has to be refreshed for the notifications. It doesn't seem to affect the chat. I guess you guys can't see because the chat's not on the screen. But let's see. Okay. So let's try that one more time. Oh, you know what? Hold on. Hang on a second. Hang on. Something else seems to have... for whatever reason, partway through the stream, I just have to reset the connections with the different sources. And then, once I do that, then... Chuck Fuckelstein! $50 and says nothing. Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Fuckelstein, sir. My favorite Fuckelstein. My favorite Fuckelstein is Mr. Chuck Fuckelstein. Have you met him? I drove past Patriot Way yesterday. I tweeted it out that I stopped by Patriot Way, and everyone knew you there. So good on you. Mr. Mirachuk in the chat, he says, value is tied to labor, not material cost. You can't out-design humanity from within humanity. Slutty Milk got Charlie Kirk as well. Amy says, probably because I have no opinion on a lot of stuff. That's your job. Get yourselves one, boys. It's fantastic. See, I went and bought myself an extra vote. And then I made one. Then I made a third one eventually. Okay, so every nation has the right to regulate its own economy, but regulation descends into discrimination when it targets American firms because they are American. The U.S. possesses many tools to remedy practices that distort trade and undermine reciprocity. We will use these tools judiciously but decisively. That is a threat. The man who likes to slug people in the Oval Office just said that he's going to use his tools judiciously but decisively. Third, okay, so first principle was, hold on, where was it here? First principle, economic security begins with national capacity. Second principle, America's openness must be reciprocated by its trading partners. Third principle, America must write the rules of the next economy. Mr. Bessent, sir, this is it legal for you to post things like this on the internet? America must write the rules of the next economy. Economic competition is no longer confined to the movement of goods across oceans and ports. So we're moving into a new age. Note this. It'll be shaped by the platform systems and protocols through which commerce flows in the 21st century. So this is a porting over of economic policy from the physical domain into the digital domain. The platform systems and protocols through which commerce flows in the 21st century. In each of these domains, standards can become strategy. If the U.S. and our partners set open, secure, market-based standards, this country's economy will tilt toward freedom and prosperity. So if the US and our partners set open, secure, market-based standards. Now, what does it mean if the digital world, the platforms, the systems, and the protocols through which commerce flows in the 21st century, where this includes physical goods, but physical transactions and digital transactions become closer and closer to like every physical transaction has a digital transaction. You're beginning to colonize a digital domain, and you're defining the reaches of your imperial borders by that digital domain. So the physical borders remain, particularly as concerns the movement of people, but the digital borders come down. This is going to be part of the character that defines the new American empire, is that its digital reach is going to what would you call it? It's going to stretch out ahead of its physical reach, but the two are going to be bound together, because the extent to which the American empire can impose its digital empire on the rest of the world is contingent upon its ability to extend its physical reach. But extending its physical reach does not necessarily mean going and physically occupying it through the movement of troops and materiel. And we've look at the B-2s took off from Kansas City and flew to Iran, dropped the football down the stovepipe, and flew back again. We can project military power, overwhelming even military power, into an area without physically occupying that area. And the more that you have the expansion of drone warcraft, the more this will continue to be the case, where physical reach and digital reach begin to have a sort of disjunction with each other. But the digital empire becomes as important, if not even more important, than the physical empire, because those are the actual guardrails upon which the economic transactions, or the actual rails upon which the economic transactions flow, and the rails within which they flow. Fourth, financial leadership is a central instrument of statecraft. There is nothing accidental about the dollar's place in the world, and our leadership role comes with enormous advantages. But it also imposes considerable obligations. Interesting to see obligations become a word that's talked about more and more. We've lived in the world of rights, and like the other side of the coin of a right is an obligation or a duty. Sanctions evasion, terror financing, proliferation financing, cybercrime, narcotics trafficking, and corruption all exploit weaknesses in the financial system. Treasury's job is to protect the financial system by rooting out these abuses. So the United States, with its overwhelming military and economic and market power, is going to be extending its digital empire into the terrain of its partners. If you want to be part of that, if you want to receive the benefits of that, you're going to allow that call it like that digital umbrella to come over your nation, your locality, your polity. And Treasury sees one of its primary obligations is enforcing all the different types of transactions that proliferate within that umbrella. So this is like a declaration of war on the dark financial underbellies of the world. And who exists in the dark financial underbellies of the world? Whose terrain is that? Whose territory has that been? Fifth and finally, economic statecraft must serve the American people. So this entire thing that he's describing, it must be rooted in the interests of the American people, which begs the question of who are the American people? America's competitive advantage has never been limited to our natural resources or the depth of our capital markets. It resides most of all in the character and the capacity of our people. The entrepreneur with an idea, the worker who can master new trades and technologies, institutions with the freedom and confidence to flourish. Our founders scarcely could have foreseen the world we inhabit today. The industries we've built, the technologies we've invented, the prosperity we've created, and the power we have attained. But they did understand something far more enduring, that the fortunes of a nation are shaped by the energies of its people. The fortunes of a nation are shaped by the energies of its people. What a fascinating word to use here, the energies of its people. The energies of a people shape the fortunes of a nation. Those energies transformed a small republic on the edge of a continent into the most prosperous nation in the long sweep of human civilization. We will preserve that inheritance by ensuring that our openness strengthens America and the partnerships we form are worthy of the name. America welcomes its partners and we are stronger because of them, but our partnership now carries expectations and, in some instances, non-negotiable obligations. This is drawing a clear delineation between what's America and what's not America. Because if you're a partner with America, you're definitionally not part of America. And for you to be worthy of our partnership, there's going to be no more freeloading. There are going to be expectations, and some of those expectations are going to involve non-negotiable obligations. Take it or leave it. Trading partners of the U.S. should expect a nation committed to strong alliances and productive economic relationships, a nation that welcomes fair competition, rewards investment, and believes in open commerce. But, there's an important but here, because you could see this as this is sort of like a this is like just like saying the right words here. This is boilerplate diplomatic speak. The United States is a nation committed to strong alliances and productive economic relationships, a nation that welcomes fair competition, rewards investment, and believes in open commerce. See, my entire life, this is where it ends. Just describing the U.S. this way. This is all we are. We're just a nation committed to strong alliances and productive economic relationships, a nation that welcomes fair competition, rewards investment, and believes in open commerce. Isn't that great? Now, don't you, every single person on the planet, don't you want to come live in America? But not Scott Bessent. Scott Bessent says, but they should also expect a nation that is now more aware of its interests and more prepared to protect them. You might even say that America is a nation that is maturing and becoming self-aware on a trajectory toward empire. These are reasonable expectations for any nation. So being aware of your own interests and being prepared to protect them is a reasonable baseline expectation for any nation. And he and J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio, that off the top of my head, all three of them have said explicitly this over and over again. We expect you to act in the interests of your own people. In fact, when we're going to start applying pressure to you is when you are not acting in the interests of your own people. Looking at the UK, looking at Germany, looking at Iran, this is the way they've framed this. Looking at Israel, this is how they've framed every single one of these conflict points with other nations. These are reasonable expectations for any nation. They are necessary and essential for the U.S. because we have been and will remain the most important economic partner in the world. But we are now a partner with higher standards and greater expectations. We are a partner that has regained knowledge of the value that we offer and the will to defend it. Whew. I feel like I need a cigarette after that. Glorious. Absolutely glorious. This is our Treasury Secretary. What a banger. Written in the Wall Street Journal. Slutty Milk says this is Perry's favorite cabinet member because he's an alpha male. So true. So true. Cloths off. Cloths off, baby. I got peptides. Speaking of bangers, And speaking of bangers, now I follow that up from Scott Bessent with this from Donald Trump, his full speech on communism in America. Mr. President, it's so good to see you. I love seeing your face, sir. Let me hear those dulcet tones.
Communism is very easy to sell. It destroys everything, but it's very easy. I'll be honest, I think I'd be the greatest communist in history. I'd give free rent, ladies.
What a time. What a time. Go back to yourself in 2015 and play this video for them. Donald Trump at the Faith and Freedom Coalition, re-elected president, reigning over the glorious 250th anniversary of our great nation, telling everyone how he would be the greatest communist ever.
Ladies and gentlemen, greatest communist in history. I'd give free rent. Ladies and gentlemen, from now on, you don't have to pay any rent. From now on, anybody wants a house, don't worry about it. Just pick the house you want. Everybody gets free food. Everything is free from this point forward. Everyone's going to vote for me. The problem is, after 2 or 3 years, the country is a disaster area. The
so
country
true.
fails. They always do. It always does. So easy to sell. That first year, boy, you're the most popular. It's happening right now in New York and California.
You can see that this is clearly an emphasis now. This is one of their. I'm sure they've done polling and sampling and stuff to evaluate the effectiveness of this sort of messaging. But clearly, this is part of their midterms campaign now. That the Democrats are communists. This is going to be the messaging that we hear in the lead up to the midterms from all of the campaigns funded by Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, and Elon Musk. Because remember, J.D. Vance, he has some, I can't remember his exact office, but he has a role that he's been appointed to where basically, like, he and Elon Musk are partnered together overseeing the deployment of campaign spending for the midterms. So this is their framing. Their framing is Democrats are communists. And I gotta admit, I think it's gonna be compelling. And it's the greatest thing about it is it is going to absolutely incense the dirtbag left, the elitist sort of I don't know, like Howard University or whatever, like the elite school bourgeois striver class people who are like, it is going to be like squirting lemon juice in their eyes, and I'm gonna love every frickin' second of it. But notice how he's framing this up. He's like, you guys are trying to do it the easy way. Yeah, it's so easy to run as a communist. This is how desperate you are. You're having to settle for this low-hanging fruit. Oh, I'm a communist. I'm going to give you all this stuff for free. He's like, I could be a communist if I want. I could go win elections by offering free stuff to everyone. You guys are amateurs.
But you'll start living in squalor.
Yeah, we're putting Stavros in jail. That's right, Straight Buster. Ball knower.
You'll live in squalor. There will be no food. There will be no housing. There will be no military. There will be no law and order. There will be no nothing. There will be no nothing. You'll be a third world.
There'll be no nothing. The man is a philosopher. There will be no nothing.
Inhabitant in every way, and everyone will suffer or die. You'll suffer or die. That's what happens. For thousands of years, it's been happening by different names.
For thousands of years by different names. Tell me more, Mr. President. Tell me about the history of communism. For thousands of years, communism has nipped at our heels, prowled outside our borders, seeking to find a chink, to make its way in through chinks. And my president says, no more chinks. Keep the commies away.
Thousands of years. I'm telling you, I'd be the greatest communist in history. It would be so easy. You wouldn't have to work. You could stay home. The problem is a couple of years go by, the whole place collapses. Always does. Always has. But I'm sorry to say, but assassinations of those who oppose them is a very important element of their ideology. Assassination's a big deal for them. They're animals. They're animals.
Animals!
In many cases, they're not smart, but in some cases, they are. It's easy for them to get followers because they make promises that they know they can't keep, and the Democrats aren't fighting back. That's why they're...
The Democrats! He said it! The Democrats! The Democrats are communists. And if you vote for Democrat communists, you're voting to live in a third world nation. This is the Republican messaging for the midterms. Voting for Democrats is voting for godless communism and turning the country into a third world shithole.
They're dumb. They're not fighting back. They're afraid. I watch Schumer. He's afraid to fight.
Also, these are insurgents. So not only are the leadership, the Democrat leadership, not only are they Democrat communists, they're actually enthralled to Democrat communists. They're weak. They're captured. They're being puppeted by their masters.
I watch guys that are pretty normal and guys that we oppose. They're afraid to fight. The Democrats have taken a tremendous turn left, and many of these people, I looked at some of the people that got elected the other night in New York.
My president just wants ordinary Democrats. This is unacceptable that you've taken this hard turn left. Just be ordinary Democrats. That's fine. You can be Democrats. We still love our Democrats. We recognize that they're dumb, but we just want Democrats. We want you to, we'll keep you around to laugh at you, to make fun of you, to hold you up as an example of everything you don't want to be. Look at that, kids. He's a Democrat. Everyone point and laugh. Ha 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 ha, stupid Democrat. But no, now they're playing footsie with communists.
These are, in many ways, stupid people. In some ways, and intellectually, probably pretty smart. But they're people that want to destroy our country. They hate our country. They hate our...
They're intellectually pretty smart. This is so fascinating. There's such deep... You could write like doctoral theses on these things he's talking about. Like they're actually smart. They're smart, intellectually smart, but they're not street smart. They're weak. This is a product of weakness. And he says it just so simply and straightforwardly in his own way. But this is what happens when you have weak leaders. When you have weak leaders, they get subverted by communists. And they're smart and highfalutin, and they're very intellectual. They've got all their numbers and their charts and everything. But in reality, they're just trying to turn your country into a third world shithole.
They hate our people. They hate the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party is in big trouble because this isn't stopping with New York. This is going all. Too easy to get elected. Giving everything away. Too easy to get elected. Very dangerous. But you'll soon have nothing left. That's the problem. In many ways, they're allowing...
It's too easy to get elected. How does he do it? The spirit of Scott Adams is animating my president. It's too easy for them to get elected. This is like you should be smelling a rat. It's too easy. Look at this judo move that he's done. If it's hard to get elected, if you're having to work to get elected, that's a good thing. If you're actually having to go out and campaign and say hard things, tell hard truths, that is a feather in your cap. If it's easy to get elected, then you're electing weak people.
Allowing them to just go their own way, do your own. We don't want to take a chance on saying anything bad because we're afraid we're going to lose our jobs if we do. They're afraid they're going to lose their election if they even think about saying anything bad about this new breed of sick people.
New breed of sick people. And notice how he keeps saying they, and he's clearly talking about two different categories of they. He's talking about Chuck Schumer is the one he's picked out as the figurehead of the kind of ordinary normal people. There are opponents, but they're just kind of ordinary normal Democrats, but they're weak and they're compromised and they're captured and they're afraid. And so they're just allowing their party to be taken over and ripped apart from the inside by communists. So you have the dangerous, evil, sick communists who are capitalizing on the weakness and the inefficiency and the instability of the stupid Democrats. But he just interchangeably refers to them as they because they're the same thing. You can make that distinction. Who cares? There is no good Democrat.
They're not smart enough or tough enough to fight the plague that's happening. It's happening right before your very
plague.
eyes. If they fought them the way they fight Republicans or the way they fight me, they'd be victorious. They didn't beat us, but they'd be victorious against the communists.
So there's a clear hierarchy now. You have the communists are the gutter filth. Then you have the weak, incompetent, retarded Democrats in the middle. And then you have us on the top. And yeah, he's giving them an out. Yeah, Morin says, leave your enemy a golden path to retreat down. This is masterful. Masterful. This gives if there's any decent person who still happens to have a D next to their name, this gives them an out.
But they don't have the courage to do so. So they're turning communists themselves. It's becoming a communist party. These are not social Democrats. These are hardcore, godless communists. They're godless communists.
Ah! These are not social Democrats. Holy shit! How does he do it? These are not social Democrats. He's describing the way that these unimpressive, weak leaders get inhabited by communists, and then they become communists. They may not have been ideologically or motivated by communism, but they were weak and ineffectual and incompetent, and they had to just try to do the easy thing, just promise a whole bunch of stuff I can't fulfill, which is how they become communists. They are spiritually changed by their own weakness, their own lack of courage, their own corruptibility.
The communists, but they don't have the courage to do so. So they're turning communists themselves. It's becoming a communist party. These are not social Democrats. These are hardcore, godless communists. They're godless communists. All communists are godless. They don't believe in God. This is the most serious threat to our country since its existence, in my opinion, 250 years ago. This is a major threat to our country.
This is a out of the mouth of the great orange, the great Cheeto Hitler, the great Mango Mussolini. You're getting a profound disquisition on the spiritual origins of communism.
Country. It isn't something that's easily solved, but with a little love and help, some hard work. Because it's ironic, we're celebrating a very important birthday, our most important birthday so far, 250 years. And instead of speaking about Christ, and instead of speaking about freedom and victory,
love, with a little bit of love. You know, it's going to be difficult. It's not going to be easy. But the thing that we need to love our Democrats. We will win them over with love. We will conquer godless communism with love.
Of all different kinds, we're speaking about yet another threat to the foundations of America. These ruthless communists will attack all religions, but in particular Christianity. They always do. They're after Christianity more than any other religion. It seems
they will attack all religions, but in particular Christianity. What did he mean by this? What did he mean by this? What is it about the communist that makes them particularly disposed toward attacking Christianity in their godlessness?
Seems to be more and more throughout the world, maybe because we're doing so well. I don't know. Maybe if we weren't doing well. But you see the numbers, how they're growing, how the churches are filling up. It's a beautiful thing to see. I mean,
it is so.
Look, it happens to be during my presidency, so.
It is so beautiful, Mr. President, to see the churches filling up.
I don't mind taking credit for it. I'm very proud. but a lot of great things are happening.
Talk your shit, King.
All communist countries attack religions violently. It's part of their deal.
Both parties are the same, bro. No matter who you elect, you just get John McCain. It would have been exactly the same if Kamala Harris was elected. We need to elect Democrats for a little while. Because then what happens is when you lose, you start winning. Unbelievable. How spiritually bankrupt and demoralized do you have to be to doom while you're living in the inauguration of Trump's great golden age in America? Not me. Not me, boys. If you're a Labian, you know just how beautiful and glorious it is to live in Donald Trump's America, the Trumpenreich. Yeah, good point, Mellon. He says it's a secular worldview, even if those guys go to church, to countersignal this stuff. Yes, countersignaling this is embodying, is acting from a secular worldview. You cannot countersignal this. Jeff!
These are not social democrats. These are hardcore godless communists. They're godless communists. All communists are godless. They don't believe in God. We have to tie them to the radiator and grape them. Grape them in the face.
In Trump's great golden age, we're graping the godless Democrats. Oh, Jeff. Masterful. I'm so glad. So glad that I chose to follow through and do this live tonight. Incredible. Incredible. Thank you, boys. Dale Gribble is going to grape their face. Watch out, Democrats. Dale's coming for you.
I'm going to come.
Tom Sauer said, "This is one of those days I wish we still had Scott Adams. My guess is he'd hail this as Trump's accurate reframing of the midterms and 2028 into a struggle against avowed, godless, unhuman communists." Again, excellent and accurate messaging as always. So true. Patriot Sauer. This is what Trump posted. He said, "I will be speaking at 1:30 p.m. to the Faith and Freedom Coalition. And one of the statements I will be making, perhaps the most important of them all." So he didn't just give this as part of his speech. He also posted on Truth Social ahead of time. He truced it out that this is the part you need to pay most close attention to. Perhaps the most important of them all concerns the recent election of communists in our country. Communism is very easy to sell. I'd be the greatest communist in history. I'd give free rent, free houses, free food, everything is free. Unfortunately, after 2 or 3 years, the country where this is taking place would fail. It always does. And then you'll start living in squalor. There will be no food. There will be no housing. There will be no military. There will be no nothing. You will own things. And you will be happy. Versus, there will be no nothing. You will be third world every way, and everyone will suffer or die. I'm sorry to say, but assassinations of those who oppose them is a very important element of their ideology, capital I ideology. They're animals. In many cases, not smart, but in some cases, they are. It's easy for them to get followers because they make promises that they know they can't keep, and the Democrats aren't fighting back. In many ways, they're allowing them to go their own way. They're afraid they will lose their election. They're afraid of conflict. They're not smart enough or tough enough to fight this plague. If they fought them the way they fight Republicans or me, they'd be victorious. But they don't have the courage to do so. These are not social Democrats. These are hardcore, godless communists. This is the most serious threat to our country since its existence 250 years ago. Isn't it ironic? We're celebrating a very important birthday. And instead of speaking about Christ, freedom, and victories of all different kinds, we're speaking about yet another threat to the foundations of America. These ruthless communists will attack all religions, but in particular Christianity. They always do. All communist countries attack religions violently. As you know, we recently struck Nigeria and largely ended the slaughter of their great Christian population. They know that if they go further, the attack will be far greater, and in that they do not want to get involved. I am saving Christians throughout the world, even though we are not in those various countries, by hitting these terrorists violently and hard. They will close your churches. They will kill your people. This is what they're about. This is the greatest threat to our country since its founding 250 years ago. President Donald J. Trump. Do you think Donald Trump knows what time it is? Do you think he needs you nipping at his heels? Telling him he doesn't know what he's doing? Telling him he doesn't get it? He clearly knows exactly what time it is. This godless communist threat, this anti-Christian plague, is the greatest threat to our country since its founding 250 years ago. So true, Mr. President. Now, here's one of the great Supreme Court rulings we just got. In a 6-3 vote, the Supreme Court ruled that asylum seekers standing in Mexico have not arrived in the United States under immigration law, meaning they aren't entitled to inspection or allowed to apply for asylum until they actually cross the border. Now, doesn't this seem kind of obvious? Fisher King said, I took a look at this. It's a good outcome, but let me fill you in on a few facts so you understand how crazy it is that we had to litigate this at all. In 2016, there was such a huge surge of migrants on the border that DHS couldn't possibly process them all. So it set limits and would allow a small number into the U.S. each day to be processed, and those people could then start the process of requesting asylum. The people standing at the border who couldn't get processed right away then filed a class action lawsuit, claiming their rights were violated. The district court agreed with them, and the Ninth Circuit affirmed. So our courts ruled that migrants, people who are not citizens of the United States, can use American law to sue the American government, basically to let them in. It's a little simplified, but more or less the case. If you're not an American, you don't have standing under American law to sue the American government. Which it's kind of funny that this, what you realize, like there is no great global court. Like at a certain point, there's this arbitrary delineation that's decided, enforced through power. No, you have no appeal. Now face the wall. The statutory issue is when a migrant can be considered to have arrived in the United States. The lower courts held that a migrant has arrived the moment he reaches the border and has any contact with U.S. Border Patrol. So when an agent stops someone from entering, the district court and the Ninth Circuit ruled that the migrant had in fact arrived in the USA such that he can take advantage of our laws and sue our government. So if Border Patrol prevents somebody from entering the country, the act of preventing them from entering the country rubber stamps that they have entered the country and can now avail themselves of rights within the country. This is the madness that SCOTUS put a stop to today. Keep in mind also that this lawsuit has been going on since 2017. So for nearly 10 years, we have wasted resources to get a SCOTUS ruling that is just basic common sense. And think of the one that we talked about the other day, where there's immigration judges who could just infinitely just like administratively, I don't remember what the word was, but basically take the case and just like push it out of their queue and push it into limbo and leave it there eternally. As a roundabout way of administratively approving someone to enter into the country and then begin availing themselves of voting and benefits and employment and all these other sorts of things. Now, there is a popular sentiment that is something along the lines of like, this is so obvious. It's so obvious that this would be the case. Why would you have to go through all this boring, time-consuming, months and years worth of slogging through bureaucratic hurdles and administrative proceedings and putting together these sorts of cases and prosecuting them all the way to completion. This is so obvious, it's absurd that we reach the point where we have to have the Supreme Court weigh in on such obvious things. Therefore, clearly, everything is done and it's time to just die or something. But we're winning these things. Slowly, gradually, but surely, we're stacking win on top of win, on top of win, on top of win, on top of win. And the time to stop winning is not when you're winning. Oh, the game's rigged against us. We can never win. So the fact that we're winning now, well, those wins actually don't matter because the game is rigged against us and we can't win, so we should stop winning. No, you're weak and cowardly and lazy. You are ripe for recruitment by godless communists. Blackpilling is sowing seeds of communism. You're breaking down your own moral defenses against communism. You are beginning to be inhabited by the spirit of resentment that motivates communism. We're winning. Wins under Secretary Mullen. Shout out to an appeal to pragmatism. Prowler on X. Under Secretary Mullen, here's the wins thus far. SCOTUS ruled 6-3, affirming DHS's discretion over all TPS decisions. This is temporary protective status, the thing that they use to bring in Haitians and Venezuelans and Nicaraguans and just granted them temporary status that is temporary was supposed to be permanent. No, DHS unilaterally can decide to revoke temporary protected status. Again, 6-3, SCOTUS allows quickly turning back aliens pursuing asylum at the border. SCOTUS makes it easier to reject and remove green card holders accused of a crime. The D.C. Circuit, 2-1, says they reinstated Trump's expanded, expedited removal policy. Didn't even have to make it to the Supreme Court. ICE posts back-to-back record-high removal flights in April and May. Remember how everybody told you that Markwayne Mullin was coming in? There's like certain personalities going around the internet telling you that they've actually backed off. They don't want to scare people, and there's like, oh, it's too difficult to deport people and win an election, so we're just going to stop doing it. So since you're not seeing the big dramatic performative displays on your For You page, it stopped. No, ICE posted back-to-back record high removal flights under Markwayne Mullin. DHS cracks down on asylum fraud and complicit legal representation, tightening work permits, and raising naturalization fees. They've proposed rules on tightening work permits and raising naturalization fees. The DOJ onboarded the largest ever class of new immigration judges in May. And at the Treasury, immigration courts begin mega master hearings in June. Treasury and FinCEN are moving to debank illegal aliens. Plus, we got $70 billion more for ICE and Border Patrol via reconciliation, on top of the $170 billion already secured from the One Big Beautiful Bill. So through 2028, I think into 2029, there is $250 billion that has now been dedicated specifically for ICE and Border Patrol. Since Secretary Mullin stepped in, we've had record high removal flights, larger migrant hearings, several huge court wins, and new funds for ICE. Treasury is advancing broad frameworks to disrupt and debank illegals, while DHS cracks down on asylum fraud and lawyers. All of this is conducive to larger mass deportations. This is a necessary phase of developing efficient mechanisms to push removals and prevent regress. We will continue to push for higher numbers, and the recent funds will make it happen. Go to t.me/practicalpolitics. Follow the man. Make a point of reading the things that he posts every single day. You have no excuse to be ignorant of this stuff. You have no excuse to not know what's going on. You have no excuse to black pill.
Never listen to a panikin.
Geiger Capital says this is insane. This is America's 100 highest fertility counties. GFR is births per 1,000 women, ages 15 to 44. I like how down to age 15. Uterus havers, starting at age 15. Of the 100 highest fertility counties, so the counties that are replicating the most, 94 out of 100 of them voted for Trump. Here's your whole list, your whole breakdown. The ones that did not. Zavala, Texas. I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that right, because Texas just kind of arbitrarily chooses how their towns are pronounced. Greensville, Virginia. There's another blue one. Dimmitt, Texas. That's appropriate. Dimmitt, Texas. Liberty, Georgia. Oglala, Lakota in South Dakota. I wonder why. Oglala, Lakota did not vote for Trump. And then St. Francis, Arkansas. Is St. Francis, is that the county for Little Rock? But all the rest of these, look at this. Texas, Nebraska, South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, Texas, Iowa, Missouri, Wisconsin, New York, Texas, North Carolina, Kansas, Oklahoma, Indiana, Iowa, Indiana, Ohio, Texas, North Carolina, Missouri, New Jersey, Minnesota, Texas, Kansas, Wisconsin, Texas, Michigan, Nebraska, Texas, Georgia, Minnesota. Let's see. There's a Washington in here. Another Washington. Kentucky. Lots and lots of Texas. Lots of Oklahoma. Lots of Kansas. We got some Floridas. We got an Idaho. More South Dakotas. We got an Oregon. Got a New Mexico. Got some Minnesotas. Wisconsin. Oklahoma. Another Florida. North Carolina. West Virginia. The future will be populated by American counties that vote for Trump. Yes, Trust Plants are libtards are dying out, and you're blackpilling? Can you possibly blackpill when the libtards are killing themselves off? The South added roughly 7.6 million people between 2020 and 2025, more than the rest of the country combined. The 2030 census is going to be political Armageddon for Democrats. They are projected to lose 14 congressional seats and 10 electoral votes. Think about the consequences of this for the Democrat Party. Losing 14 congressional seats and 10 electoral votes. And this is if the census actually happens in 2030. What if the census happens sooner? This is just merely based on movement of peoples. This isn't even talking about redistricting. This isn't talking about like the civil rights cases. Why the South is the only U.S. region growing across every age group. Population across the region grew across all age groups between 2020 and 2025, but it was the only region with growing numbers of people under 18. The young, the old, the middle-aged, they all keep flocking south. Across every age group, the southeastern United States grew faster than any other region between April 1, 2020 and July 1, 2025, according to new data released Thursday by the Census Bureau. Population in the South grew by 6%, nearly double the nation overall during that period. It was also the only swath of the country to experience growth across all age groups, from children to retirees. The South stands out because it is seeing population gains in age groups that in other regions saw little change or are declining, said Lauren Bowers, chief of the Census Bureau's Population Estimates Branch. The South, which the Bureau defines as a region that stretches from Texas to the mid-Atlantic, added roughly 7.6 million people between 2020 and 2025, more than the rest of the country combined. So second place was the West, third was the Midwest, fourth, the Northeast. And once again, I will reiterate my prediction that the seat of financial and industrial and political power in the United States, as the United States empire begins to grow into its own, is going to move away from New York and D.C. and down to, I think it's going to be in Florida and across the Gulf Coast and then the Texas Triangle. What's driving that growth? One major contributor, according to the census figures, the population boom in outlying counties, or those that sit adjacent to major metro areas, and often are home to feverish development and armies of commuters. I'm guessing one contributor to this, the outlying counties thing, was people working more from home, and during lockdowns, people making babies, and working more from home and making more babies working more from home. Many counties across the country have grappled with declining population growth, but the South as a whole has bucked that trend. Many of the fastest growing counties in recent years have been in states such as Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia. Of 1,422 southern counties, the fastest growing, according to the census figures, is Kaufman County, Texas, a Dallas area suburb that ballooned more than 42%, adding about 62,000 residents over the recent 5-year period. Of the other counties in the top 10 for growth, 3 are in Texas, another 3 are in Georgia, and several others are scattered across the Carolinas and Florida. Metro counties in the South grew by nearly 7% in recent years, according to census data, but counties situated just outside urban centers grew even more rapidly. These outlying counties grew the fastest across all age groups, and often by a large margin, Bowers said. Another thing that's going to happen is the inner cities it's already well underway, but the inner cities are going to continue hollowing out and collapsing. And so you had the Dust Bowl where you had the big droughts, and you had the rise of big industrial manufacturing and everything, which was centered in the cities, and it pulled a bunch of people out of the rural areas and into the cities throughout the end of the 1800s, beginning of the 1900s. Now we're going through a reverse of that. I don't know what you'd call it, the smog bowl or something. So now you're seeing people are fleeing the urban centers. The urban centers are going to start collapsing, and they're going back out into suburbia. So Metro outlying was the largest. Metro Central, Micro Central, and then outside Metro and Micro areas, and then Micro outlying was the lowest, which makes sense. Like the furthest flung, like small cities and small towns, there's still a huge opportunity there. Think of all the dead or dying little cities across the Midwest and across the West that got hollowed out, where there's going to be a huge opportunity now over the next 10 to 20 years for people who are coming into new wealth, being able to relocate out there, particularly because of things like fiber and self-driving and automation and robots and all these sorts of things. As these proliferate more and more, delivery through drones and all this sort of thing, it's going to make it easier and easier for people to live well and for their money to go further going out into those towns. Being able to go buy a town should be on your list of goals with your, like, if you aren't settled somewhere and you have your little internet community, you should be headed in a trajectory toward being able to come together and go buy a town. One eye-opening aspect of Thursday's findings is that the draw of the South appears to cut across all ages, something not true anywhere else in the nation. The South saw significant growth among older residents as the region's 65 and up crowd jumped more than 17% in just 5 years, amounting to about 3.7 million more seniors. At the same time, the South was the only region where the number of people under 18 rose between 2020 and 2025. Its growth of just over 1%, or about 304,000 more children, stands in sharp contrast to declining numbers of young people in the Midwest, Northeast, and West. So it looks like the West is the one that declined the most, interestingly. People typically move for jobs and families, said Mike Klein, the state demographer for North Carolina. Imagine having that job. Your job is to study demographics. The state demographer, you get paid by the state to study demographics. So the state demographer for North Carolina, where industries such as banking, technology, and pharmaceutical manufacturing have attracted younger workers in recent years. We have a channel in the King Pill Discord that I just created at the request of Arthurian Candidate recently. We called it Reindustrialization. And mostly so far, it's been Heinz and Arthurian Candidate just spamming links and stories and white pills and stuff about how rapidly the U.S. economy is reindustrializing, and all the huge development projects and new job industry creations and stuff that are happening all over the place. Go to kingpill.com. Go join the Discord. You're missed there. That sort of growth already was happening before 2020. The COVID-19 pandemic accelerated migration to North Carolina, other parts of the South. Some of these southern areas did a lot better in the first couple years of the pandemic than more recently. States such as Florida were exceptionally big magnets during the first years of the pandemic, probably because of lockdowns. The South also historically has been a draw not only for people from other regions, but also immigrants, whether from Mexico or Central America or places such as India and China, who also come seeking jobs. But that trend also remains uncertain in the near term. Yeah, it does. Frey has written about recent declines in immigration since President Donald Trump returned to office for a second term, and how stricter policies are having a profound impact on population growth. As immigration continues to decline, he has written, many states could face smaller population gains or even losses as time goes on. Immigration is a big question mark, the way things are going politically, Frey said. Still, the rising population the South has logged makes it an outlier compared to much of the rest of the country. So population growth slowed in a majority of the nation's 3,143 counties between July 1, 2024 and July 1, 2025. Even among the 2,066 counties that grew between 2023 and 2024, nearly 8 in 10 saw their growth slow or reverse direction in 2025. In addition, many counties already experiencing a decline in population saw those losses accelerate. So here's the other thing, is there's major forces that are going to cause a big decline in population as well. And these will basically offset each other, but there's going to be distinctions about each category of growth and decline that is going to mediate that difference, I suppose. So, for example, the boomer generation is huge, and over the next 10 to 20 years, the majority of the boomer generation is going to die off. Furthermore, the effects of, let's say, 2020, 2021, 2022, some of those sorts of mortality-inducing events, I suppose you'd say, are going to bear themselves out, because some of them, they take a little while to build up, if you understand my meaning. But those are going to cause a pretty big decline in certain populations. And then you also have the hormonal impacts on fertility from birth control and the pruning out epidemic. And what else could I think of? Also deportations and drastically reducing the flow of immigrants. There's a lot of institutional inertia around the expectation of these inflows. And when those inflows disappear all of a sudden, then the institutions have to realign themselves. So what this means, but then you're also going to get like, there's all the automation and everything, but some of the effect of the automation causing job loss and all that sort of thing is mitigated in part by literally people just not existing anymore, whether they're dying off or they're being removed from the country and not coming into the country, which means those who are remaining, let's say the available pool of wealth and prosperity on a per capita basis is going to increase, just simply because so many people are going to decrease. So you may end up starting to get population declines in quite a few areas, and you're going to have targeted dense areas where population is exploding, and the total net capacity is going to be expanding at the same time because of all of the automation of the robots and the major focus on productive credit distribution and reindustrialization. So for the people who are making choices to make themselves healthier, to relocate or align with good people and productive environments, those who are left, as some disappear, those who are left, the standard for them is going to be elevated significantly. Despite the population gain of recent years across the South, even it cannot escape another reality that is unfolding across America. The country is aging, Frey said. Baby boomers are growing old. U.S. fertility rates have been on the decline for the better part of 2 decades. In parts of the country, including in many corners of the South, deaths outnumber births. All states and all regions are faced with the same issue, a slowing rate of growth, Klein said. Once you reach a natural decrease, the only way you can increase it is to have more people moving into the state and offsetting that. And the demographics, white people at the population level, white people are the ones who are continuing to have births, have babies the most. Dr. Doom Guy, $100. You guys are incredible. What's that get us up to here? Let's see when this adds. Dr. Doom Guy, you're a patriot, sir. Thank you, man. So that gets us up to $681. So $70. Somebody is going to be winning $70. That reminds me, Ben Shapiro on 2X. I need to hit you up and find out what you want because I owe you a gift card from the other night. But someone else tonight is going to be getting at least $70. We'll round up $70. So go to forum.kingpill.com. We'll do that drawing here in just a few moments. We're going late. Apologies to the people in the King Pill Discord who've been waiting for or looking forward to the voice chat. I'll still be heading over there as soon as I finish. But speaking of the South, I wanted to read some of these to you guys. Decided to listen to Yarvin and read random slave narratives, and this is literally the first one I found. So this is Will Adams. He was born in 1857, a slave of Dave Cavan in Harrison County, Texas. He remained with the Cavans until 1885, then farmed for himself. Will lives alone in Marshall, Texas, supported by a $13 a month or $13 monthly pension. So I don't know exactly when this was written, but he looks like he's probably 60-ish, something like that. So this is probably in the 19-teens, I would guess. So I'm going to try to do the voice as best as I can. He says, "My folks allus belongs to the Cavans and wore their name till after emancipation. Pa and Ma was named Freeman and Amelia Cavan, and Massa Dave fotches them to Texas from Alabama, along with Ma's mother, what we call Maria. The Cavans allus thunk lots of them niggas, and Grandma Maria say, why shouldn't they? It was their money. She say there was plenty Indians here when they settled this country, and they bought and traded with them without killing them, if they could. The Indians was poor folks, just pilfer and loaf round all the time. The niggas was a heap sight better off than they was, because we had plenty to eat and a place to stay. So you got a little social hierarchy here. You had the niggas, who were on this threshold above the Indians. You had the whites, then you had the niggas, then you had the Indians. Young Massa Tom was my special massa, and he still lives here. Old man Dave seemed to think more of his niggas than anybody, and we thunk lots of our white folks. My pa was a leader on the farm, and there wasn't no overseer or driver. When Pa whip a nigga, he needn't go to Massa Dave, but Pa say, go you way, you nigga. Freeman didn't whip you for nothing. Massa Dave allus believe Pa, because he tells the truth. So his dad's the overseer, basically, and he was the leader on the farm. There was no overseer or driver, meaning there was no white overseer or driver. It was his dad, Freeman, who was the leader. And his dad, Freeman, would whip a nigga, and he didn't even need to go to Massa Dave. He would tell him, go you way, you nigga. Freeman didn't whip you for nothing. I didn't whip you for nothing. And Massa Dave allus believe Pa, because he tells the truth. One time a peddler come to our house, and after supper he goes to see about his pony. Pa done feed that pony 15 ears of corn. The peddler tell Massa his pony ain't been fed nothing, and Massa get mad and say, be on your way if you gwine fuck. Be on your way if you gwine accuse my niggas of lying. What's gwine? Gwine? It's like gonna, but it would be like, if you gwine accuse my niggas of lying. So a peddler comes, his dad, the black guy, feeds the pony, and then the peddler says, hey, you didn't feed him anything. And Massa says, get the fuck out of here. You're not going to accuse my niggas of lying. I got the best niggas. We had good quarters and plenty to eat. I remembers when I was just walking around, good Pa come in from the field at night and taking me out of bed and dress me and feed me and then play with me for hours. Him being leader, he's gone from 4 day till after night. The old heads got out early, but us young scraps slept till 8 or 9 o'clock. And don't you think Master Dave ain't coming round to see we is fed? I remembers him like it was yesterday, coming to the quarters with his stick and asking us, had yo breakfast? We'd say, yes, sir. Then he'd ask if we had enough or wanted any more. It looked like he was taking a pleasure in seeing us eat. At dinner, when the field hands come in, it him the same way. He would show that pot liquor was filled, as long as the niggers want to eat. The hands worked from sun to sun. Massa give 'em little crops and let 'em work on Saturday. Then he bought the stuff and the niggers go to Jefferson and buy clothes and such like. Lots saved money and bought freedom before the war was over. So look at this. Look at what the life he's describing here. So his dad would come in from the field at night, take him out of bed, dress him and feed him, and then play with him for hours. And then, so the old heads got out early. So the old heads got up and went out and started working early. But the young kids slept in till 8 or 9. And then Massa Dave comes around and tells them, hey, are you fed? Are you getting fed enough? And if you're not, I'm going to make sure. I'm going to make sure that pot liquor was filled as long as the niggers want to eat. And then he'd give them crops. So on Saturday, when they're not working, they could go grow their own crops. Then he would buy the stuff that they grew from them so that they'd have money to go in, go shopping, do whatever. And some of them would save that money up and then just buy their freedom. We went to church, and first the white preacher preached, and then he lawns our colored preachers. I seed him ordain a colored preacher, and he told them to all be honest. When the white preacher laid his hand on him, all the niggers get to hollering and shouting and praying, and that nigger gets scared most to death. All the niggers get to hollering and shouting and praying. Some things never change. Yeah, the colored preachers. On Christmas, we had all we could eat and drink, and after that, a big party. And you ought to see them gals swinging their partners round. Then Massa have 2 niggers wrestle, and our sports and dances was big sport for the white folks. They'd sit on the gallery and watch the niggers put it on Brown. Put it on Brown! The niggers are putting it on Brown! Massa didn't like his niggers to marry off the place, but sometimes they'd do it. And Massa tell his neighbor, my nigger am coming to you place. Make him behave. And all the niggers haved then, and there wasn't no Huntsville and gallows and burnings then. So he didn't want his slaves to marry outside of his, he wanted to keep it contained. But sometimes they would, and he would allow it. And so then he's like, okay, so my slave is now going to go over to this other place. And you need to make sure make sure he behaves, but make sure you take care of him too. And all the niggas haved. There was no Huntsville and gallows and burning. So they weren't acting up. There wasn't violence. Everyone was peaceful and happy with each other. And look at this, like on the holidays, these poor abused slaves, they got all that they could eat and drink and had a huge party, dancing around, totally participating in the festivities. And then they'd get the opportunity to show off. So again, some things never change. Old Massa went to war with his boy Billy. They's lots of crying and weeping when they set us free. Lots of them didn't want to be free, because they knowed nothing and had nowhere to go. Them what had good masses stayed right on. So after the war, the whites who were freeing their slaves were crying about it, and a lot of the slaves didn't even want to be freed, because they didn't have anywhere else to go. They didn't have like a legal status or anything. And so a lot of them just stayed. If they had good masters, they just stayed with them. So there were bad masters too, but there was good masters who were so good that they would just stay with them. I remember when that Ku Klux business starts up. Smart niggas causes that. The carpetbaggers ruined the niggas, and the white men couldn't do a thing with them. So they got up the Ku Klux and stirs up the world. Them carpetbaggers come round lawning niggas to sass the white folks what done fed them. They come to Pa with that talk, and he told them, listen, white folks, you is going to start a graveyard if you come around here teaching niggas to sass white folks. Them carpetbaggers starts all the trouble at elections and Reconstruction. Niggas don't know anything about politics. The carpetbaggers ruined the niggas. So you can see like the social dynamics happening here. You have the carpetbaggers who come down from the north, and what are they doing? They're telling The niggas who don't know nothing about politics, who are happy with their masters, they're telling them, no, you deserve rights. You deserve to vote. You need to get involved in politics. This is like, no, we need to have 12-year-olds voting. You need to go get involved in politics. Niggas don't know nothing about politics. Remember, communism is thousands of years old. Most of the young niggas ain't using the education they got now. I've been here 80 years. Okay, so it was 1857, so this is 1937. I've been here 80 years and still has to be showed and told by white folks. These young niggas won't get told by whites or blacks either. They thinks they done knowed it all and that gets them in trouble. So, he says these smart niggas causes that. So the smart niggas start acting up. The Ku Klux business starts up. So he's basically like, yeah, the white folks started the Ku Klux because the smart niggas was acting up because they got riled up by the carpetbaggers. But then notice, these young niggas, they won't get told by whites or blacks. They're just troublemakers. I stays with the Cavins most 20 years after the war. After I leaves, I allus farms and does odd jobs around town here. I's father of 10 chillin' by one woman. I lives by myself now, and they gives me $13 a month. I'd be proud to get it if it wasn't more than $1, because they ain't nothing an old man could do no more. I'd be proud to get it if it ain't wasn't more than $1, because they ain't nothing an old man can do no more. Faulknerian, yeah. Here's another one. The war breaks and that make the big change on the masses place. He joined the army and hires a man called Delbridge for overseer. After that, the hell start to pop, because the first thing Delbridge do is cut the rations. He weighs out the meat, 3 pound for the week, and he measure a peck a meal. And 'twan't enough. He half starve us niggas, and he want more work, and he start the whippings. I guess as he starts to educate 'em. I guess that Delbridge go to hell when he died, but I don't see how the devil could stand him. Interesting. So so they start rationing the meat. Now, part of this is probably because they, in a time of war, they genuinely have to start rationing things. But it sounds like this guy Delbridge was a dick. And it says, I guess as he starts to educate him. And I wonder if that's a reference if he's saying that he's like educating him with a whippings, or if he's saying like he's like this cruel dickhead who's whipping him, and but also he's like, oh no, we have to educate him as well. You're seeing a particular type of psychology that was injected into the South. We'ns not used to sich and some runs off. When they cotch them a whipping at the stake. But that Delbridge, he sold me to Massa House in Blanco County. I was so glad when I sold, but it ain't short gladness. 'Cause here am another man, what hell him too good for. He gives me the whipping, and the scars him still on my arms and my back too. I'll carry them to the grave. He sends me for firewood, and when I gets it loaded, the wheel hits a stump, and the team jerks and breaks the whipple tree. So he ties me to the stake, and every half hour for 4 hours, they lays the lashes on my back. For the first couple hours, the pain am awful. I's never forgot it. Then I stood so much pain I not feel so much, and when they takes me loose, I's just about half dead. I lays in the bunk 2 days, getting over that whipping, getting over it in the body, but not the heart. No, sir, I has that in the heart till this day. After that whipping, I doesn't have the heart to work for the massa. If I seed the cattle in the cornfield, I turns the back, instead of chasing them out. I guess that the reason the massa sold me to his brother, Massa John. And he am good like my first massa, he never whipped me. Then surrender am announced, and massa tells us we's free. When that takes place, I'm about 1 hour by sun. I says to myself, I won't be here long, but I does not realize what I was in for till something started, but I couldn't turn back. For that means the whipping or danger from the paddle rollers. There I was, and I kept on going. No nigga am supposed to be off dead massa place without the pass, so I travels at night and hides during the daylight. I stays in the bresh and gets water from the creeks, but not much to eat. Twice I showed them paddle rollers in passing while I was hiding. I was 21-year-old then, but it ain't the first time I was gone any place except to the neighbors, so I was worried about the right way to Massa Haley's place. But the morning of the third day comes, But the morning of the third day, I comes to he place, and I so hungry and tired and scared for fear Massa Haley not home from the army yet. So I finds my pappy, and he hides me in his cabin till a week, and then luck comes to me when Massa Haley come home. He come at night, and the next morning that Delbridge him shunt off the place, 'cause Massa Haley seed he niggas was all gaunt and lots and ran off, and the fields him not plowed right, and only half the sheep and everything left. So Massa say to that Delbridge, there am no words can explain what you's done. Get off my place before I smashes you. Then I can come out from my pappy's cabin, and the old massa was glad to see me, and he let me stay till freedom in order. That's the happiest time of my life, and when I gets back to Massa Haley. Bro, we really getting wholesome master-slave reunions decades after having been tragically separated by the unfortunate circumstances of war and freedom. Says I won't spam more, but this one's also extremely interesting. I've been unable to work for 10 years. I'm blind. I've been in bed helpless for 4 years. I eats all I can get and takes what I'm told to take. The Lord helps me. I'm dependent on Him. He put me into the world and He can take me out. I was 17 years old at the surrender. My missus was Billy Scott. I was a Scot before I married William Jones. My master was Aaron Scott. I love my white folks. Ain't got no word to say against them. Don't think the government gonna help me anyway. I've been fooled so many times. We all should fix our salvation right. That's the thing that counts now. My time is about spent here. The white folks went off to the war. They said they could whoop, but the Lord said no, and they didn't whoop. They went off laughing, and many were soon crying, and many did not come back. The Yankees come through. They took what they wanted, killed the stock, stole the horses, pulled out the lasses, and cut up a lot of meanness, but most of them is dead and gone now. No matter whether they were southern white folks or northern white folks, they is dead now. This is like, they said they could whoop, but the Lord said nope, and they didn't whoop. No matter whether they were southern white folks or northern white folks, they is dead now. Again, this is a blind person who's been in bed helpless for 4 years. Final line is so good. It was in the reign of George II that the aforesaid personages lived and quarreled. Good or bad, handsome or ugly, rich or poor, they are all equal now. I love my white folks. There's a link here, Gutenberg.org. There's a link down in the replies if you want that. Here's another one. Added that day finds out that it... Holy shit. Added that day finds out that it in 5 men's, Atwater, Edwards, Andrews, Davis, and Markham. The preacher comes down to where they am hanging to preach their funeral, and he stands there while lightning plays round the dead men's heads, and the wind blows the trees, and he preaches such a sermon as I ain't never heard before. Bob Boylan falls in love with another woman. So he burns his wife and 4 youngins up in their house. Jeez. Half of them are like this. It really is crazy. They often refer to slavery as the good old days. Great-grandchillins. Yes, sir, must have po' white trash back in them days of the war. They lived near our place, and some of them didn't have no niggers at all. They worked theyself in the fields. Us didn't fool along with them kinds of people. People, though, white folks. Us kept mostly to ourselves. Yeah, some us house niggers at in the kitchens that was separated from the main building by a walkway. Kiked. Kivered at the top, but not at the sides. Oh, covered. Kivered at the top, but not at the sides. All the slaves' chillins had a grown nigger woman and a young gal about 16 to look out at them. We alls had a good time, and us was happy and secure. This is from 1937. Nanny, were you glad when the war was over and you were free? What I care about being free? Didn't old master give us plenty good something to eat and clothes to wear? I stayed on the plantation till I married. My old miss give me a brown dress and a hat. Well, that dress put me in the country. Holy shit. Oh, if you marry. So if you marry in brown, you'll live in the country. If you marry in brown, you live in the country. Marion Brown, you'll live out of town, I quoted. That's it, my remembrance ain't so good and I forgets. No, ma'am, I ain't got no chillin', but Bradfield had plenty of 'em. I was his fourth wife. He died about 3 years ago, and he done well to live that long with all them women's and nag him. The Bible say it's better to climb to the top of the house and set than to live inside with a nagging woman. The Bible says it's better to climb on top of the house and sit than to live inside with a nagging woman. Oh, there was another one. But honey, the good old days is now gone forbear. The old days was really the good times. How I wish I could go back to the days when we lived at Johnson's Landing on the river, when the folks would come to catch the steamboats and we never knowed how many to put on breakfast, dinner, or supper for, because the boats might be behind times. I ain't never had to pay a fare to ride a steamboat neither. I was a good-looking yaller gal in them days and rid free whenever I wanted to go. But what's the use dreaming about the old times? Days gone and the world is getting wickeder and wickeder. Sin grows bolder and bolder, and religion colder and colder. What's the use dreaming about the good old days? They're gone, the world is getting wickeder and wickeder, sin grows bolder and bolder, and religion colder and colder. So the world she's describing here is people coming back and forth on the steamboats. They never knew how much food to make because the steamboat could show up at any time. She also never had to pay a fare to ride any of the steamboats. The slave girl didn't have to pay the fares to ride because she was good looking, so she could just ride for free wherever she wanted to go. People think it's unrealistic when they watch or read Gone with the Wind, how the slaves remained loyal even after freedom, even after the war, but it's not unrealistic at all. For most blacks, their lives got noticeably worse after emancipation. Yep. It's a travesty what the North did to the Negroes. Imagine only having to work 5 to 6 months out of the year, no bills, no responsibility, fishing, singing, copulating, and then bam! Damn Yankees say you need to be a W-2 wage cuck. That's the whole thing. This is it in one sentence. Imagine only having to work 5 to 6 months out of the year, no bills, no responsibility, fishing, singing, copulating, and then bam! Damn Yankees say you need to be a W-2 wage cuck. Yeah, I was laying in bed the other night, scrolled past that, and I was like, just sitting there reading it to myself in my head. And I was like, yeah, I gotta do this on the show. I don't know if I'll be able to actually pull off the accent. I give myself like a B-. It was all right. Mr. Sue!
In Trump's America, it will be culturally unacceptable to be a shit-libbed commie faggot. Nothing bad can happen. It can only good happen.
Yes! Yes! Thank you, Dale! Tremendous. So good. So true. So true. It is culturally unacceptable to be a shit-libbed commie faggot. Nothing bad can happen. It can only good happen. Thank you, everyone, for showing up. Thank you for your tremendous contributions today. Incredible things happening. Now, oh, good grief. A bunch of you guys came over and signed up. Now I've got to figure out which... I don't know why this thing is sucking now. It's not automatically adding the names to the spreadsheet. So I got to go put these in. No, so it adds some, but it doesn't add others. I don't know why that is. We've got, let's see. You guys will just have to bear with me for a little bit as I add names. Have to cross-reference. Of course, anybody, if you want to get any last tips in, you can add to, well, maybe I already said I was going to round up, so I don't know if I'd be able to add. Where are we at here? We're at $6.95, so we're at $70. So it depends on how much you add in there. I might be able to round up a little further. Probably not. It'd have to be at least. I can only do in like round increments when I do the gift cards. So let's see. Who else am I missing from this list? There's like no rhyme or reason to this. Oh, Dwight D. Eisenhower. Okay. That's a new one. Dwight D. Eisenhower. Oh, no, that one's already in there. I definitely didn't see that one before. What's happening here? More! Magoo!
Amazing reading skills, Matt. I give you 3/5.
Thank you, sir. 3/5. I see what you did there. Thank you, Magoo. An alpha male alert. I wish I had the alpha male to play for you.
I fucking love trains!
Nigga, we ride with Donald Trump over here, nigga. Don't fuck with my motherfucking president. Keep my motherfucking president name out your mouth. Fuck, nigga.
We need to take those motherfuckers out.
A shekel for a good guy.
Let's see here. All right, we've got let me make sure you guys put your you use like funny names, and so that I can't tell necessarily who it is. So hopefully you're not using this to try to game the system and give yourself extra potential in the drawing here. There's another one I recognize. No, you. Yeah, there's one. There's one. Bobby Ballbags. You put yourself on here twice. You got two different names, unless someone else is using your name. Having to scroll through the whole damn thing to try to. So I've got 22 names here, but it says that there's 26. And there's another one. I'm at 23. I might need to just like, I don't know why before it was automatically adding them. I could export it into a Google Sheets file, but now it won't populate the file anymore. So I just have to like scroll through the list here and look for names that are not on there. Oh, here we go. Okay, Slutty Milk, you're on there twice. Oh, no, you're not. Never mind. Oh, my goodness. What a shit show this is. It's Damn It, Jeremy is in there. Am I missing something? Is there a number? 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Who am I missing? Oh, there's another one. Ozarker Pleb. That's 24. So I need one more. There's one person that I'm missing. I don't want to leave someone out. I would feel really bad if someone was... So Bobby Ballbags is in there twice. So I got him on here once. Oh, Dave. That's who it was. Dave Johnson. Say a prayer for the man. He's trying not to die. We need him to stick around. Mr. Sue will be heartbroken. All right, here we go. Oh, spoiler alerts for the next episode. Finally, at last. So, out of 25. Rand between 1 and 25. Answer 9. Dwight D. Eisenhower. The Eisenhower won! I don't know who it is, but I will contact you through whomever. Whatever method of contacting you provided me, I will contact you, find out what gift card you would like. And thank you. Thank you to everyone for your contributions in the chat, sharing the show, all the different contributions. Oh, hold on. Got a super chat over on YouTube. For whatever reason, the super chats aren't working. Whatever. I totally forgot, guys. I see you were over here commenting stuff on YouTube, and I changed windows, so I didn't see what you guys were saying. See Me Rollin' 9055 with $5 said Miranchuk said that the lefties will change to conservatives overnight at some point. How and why will this happen? Well, that's a good question. That's probably a good question to ask him directly. I don't know if he's still there in the chat, but he said the lefties will change to conservatives overnight at some point. This is kind of similar to a point that I've made, that like the progressive response to Trump was really more like a conservative response, in that it was like, you know, our conventions, our what was the term that they would always use? Our standards and our norms. We need to conserve all of the progress. There's kind of this weird contradiction in like conserving progress, and so then is someone who wants to conserve progress, is that a conservative or a progressive? So that would be, I've kind of talked about that in the past, and but I'm not sure exactly what he was meaning, unless you're referring to his what's the term? What's his term for when for like the making apple pies and the neotrads. That's something that's been well underway for a while now, the whole neotrad phenomenon. And so then I guess you could question him. Another thing, clarifying thing that he could rant on, I suppose, is the difference between a lefty who is just sort of like a default NPC, someone who's a lefty because leftyism is popular, and someone who's an actual committed leftist. I don't know if the actual committed leftists will also take on the neo-trad trappings. I don't know what he would say to that, but we'll see if he shows up in the King Pilled voice chat tonight. If you would like to join us, go over to kingpilled.com and sign up. Hop in the Discord. I'll be heading over there in just a few moments, so if you're in the Discord, hop in the voice chat. We'll get you guys in just a little bit. For the rest of you, I'll see you tomorrow at the Pseudowave. We'll be watching The Adventures of Don Juan, starring the great patriot Errol Flynn, as well as mashed up with a Homath video called Sword Pill. So we will be sword maxing tomorrow on the Pseudowave. Make sure you guys show up. That will only be on Kick. So go to kick.com/kingpilled, search for Kingpilled on Kick. Go follow the Kick channel, and I will be streaming it over there tomorrow, late afternoon, early evening sometime. Going to do the voice chat tonight and then try to get a little bit of sleep. So congratulations again to Dwight D. Eisenhammer, you and Ben Shapiro on 2X. I'll be hitting you guys up, finding out what gift cards you would like, and I will see you guys when I'm live once again. Until then, I leave you with Hulk.
When they took a shot at my hero, and they tried to kill the next President of the United States, enough was enough. And I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again.